Welcome to Roots Ruminants, your podcast for creative and innovative use of farm, pasture, and rangeland. We're going back to the basics of raising and grazing livestock, growing your own forage, and practical land use.
Well, we're back with another episode of Roots and Ruminants podcast. We're on to episode 5 now, and so far, so good with the 4 episodes down. We got, Courtney was telling us the statistics here just a little bit ago, and thank you to everybody that's been listening. This is good. We got a pretty good guest, wouldn't you say, Jared?
Above average.
Slightly above average. Yeah, not so much average, but slightly above average.
At least above average.
Well, you're being pretty generous there. Thanks.
Our guest today is one of our good friends and kind of a star out there in the ranching world lately. His name's Britton Blair from Vail, South Dakota, he'll claim. Ranch out in Sturgis, South Dakota. And Britton's a great guy. Smart, intelligent, has a great family operation. We're going to let him take the lead and give us the history of Blair Brothers Angus to start off with. Does that sound good, Britton?
That sounds good.
All right.
I'm in the press a lot. I think it's just if you just say yes when they call, that's when they take you, I think, is all you got to do. So
I remember at Black Hill Stock Show this last year, we were walking around. I saw at least 3 pull-up banners in the trade show with your image on it. And in fact, I told that one kid that you were going to sign autographs for him because he was sitting there staring at it and you walked by. Remember that?
Well, I could have. I think we're just close to town, and they call and I say I'll do it. And that's all you got to do to get your name on the list.
There you go. You were actually mentioned in our first episode, and that's kind of what gets you to the front of the list here. Is you and Matthew McConaughey, and so we're still waiting on Matthew, I think, but.
Yeah, I think I told James some good quotes after that he should have used, but now he uses them every day.
Well, feel free to inform us during this time that we have together. But okay, back to the history. Blair Brothers
history. Angus. Well, I don't know how long you want. The Blairs, there was originally, like, my great-grandpa and his 3 brothers came out of Missouri in 1906 or 7 and settled just south of Sturgis. I think we came to this place north of Sturgis in those guys sat down in 1946 after all the boys came home from the war and split the place up in one day and all went out to supper afterwards. I mean, that was pretty amazing, I think.
And they sat at the same table and ate together.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
they just, all the boys were home and it was kind of time to probably split it up, and they did, and it all worked out. But we came to this place in like 52 or 54 north of Sturgis. I don't know. It's really not much of a ranch is what Ed says. There's not a lot of winter protection, not a lot of, I don't know, real outstanding features, but I think it kind of made us who we are today, just the way we do things and manage things. And
I want to get in this later, but your south place, where the feed yard and things are, was that farmed at one point? Is that a lot of crested and introduced grasses, or is that all new?
Some of it was, Grandpa did a lot of wheat farming, probably had 150 cows and farmed some wheat. Nobody here likes to farm. All the wheat ground is now hay or back to pasture land, kind of. In my time, we've just changed a few hay fields just over to pastures by starting to graze them.
Yep.
The alfalfa was diminishing anyway, so we just kind of started grazing instead of haying those pieces. But
well, let's start talking about the ruminants. Let's lead with the ruminants this episode. Tell us about your cow herd. Tell us about the flywheel that you have, that base Angus cow herd that you're using. What different marketable products are coming out of that? How is that feeding into providing opportunity for everybody in the operation, and how has it changed over time? Because you have a kind of a unconventional way of getting into the seed stock business where you didn't buy registered females, or start out with the premise that you were going to get there. It kind of happened in a different path.
Right, they would have been, they would have started out with Hereford cows like everybody in South Dakota did. And I don't know, we kind kind of started putting black bulls on stuff, and we had some baldy cows for a while, and we even put Charolais on those. And at that time, we were really wanting to buy some Cavanese heifer bulls, and we couldn't get any and couldn't get what we wanted. And so we started AIing. That's probably in 1989 or so. Started AIing for Cavanese so we could calve some heifers, or I'm sure we were calving heifers, but through AIing, and then kind of people saw what we were doing, so people would ask us to save a few bulls. And then in 1995, I think, when U.S. Premium started, we'd already been kind of doing some stuff through the calf value discovery thing with SDSU, and had learned that kind of the top end of the Angus would keep up with the top end of the Charolais, but the bottom end wouldn't. So we started selecting for kind of Cavanese with some growth and AI and everything, and did a lot more AI. And in 95, when US Premium started, it kind of gave us a direction with the cow herd, I would say, and targeting the value-based grid that they provided. With that, people just kind of asked us to save a few bulls, and we started saving some bulls. And I think my dad had a conversation with an order buyer, and he told Ed one day, he said, I think it'd be easier to sell 300 bulls than it would 30 bulls. And Ed said, okay. And that's kind of how we got in the bull business. We're up to about 400 to 450 bulls a year now. Operation consists of 2 ranches. One ranch is 12 miles north of Sturgis. The other one's 25 miles north of Belle Fourche. We bought that ranch in 2014.
And the ranches have quite a bit of differences to them as well, right? So the one, like I said, there's a fair amount of wheat farm that's right next to an irrigation project. It's not that far from Sturgis, from towns right on the highway. The other one's a little bit more isolated, right?
Yep. There's no wheat farming anymore. Mm-hmm. We'll have a few hay acres and can run 450 cows here. Close to a feed source, like you said, the irrigation project's only 5 miles away or something, so we're able to buy some feed off of that kind of. And we have a feed lot here. After we bought that ranch, we kind of went to calving all the first calf heifers at this ranch, and then kind of what I call the first cycle 3-year-olds, because we'll synchronize and AI all the cows and all the heifers, and then we'll actually pull heats on the second cycles. They'll come back in really tight for 5 to 7 days, and we'll heat detect on those and pull them and just increase our AI conception rate or AI percentage of their cows. So we're calving all the young cows here. At that time, they'll move up to Chad's place, and that's where they'll stay till they're off the operation.
So you mentioned, obviously you've talked about the AI part of things and the genetics of what you've done. Were you originally selecting for quality based off of striving for higher premium cattle on the grid, right? Is kind of what you're alluding to.
Yep.
That was a bit of a focus. So how do you do that and live north of Sturgis and ranch cows in Belle Fourche, South Dakota, and maintain, the functional aspects of a maternal cow?
Oh, geez.
You know what I'm saying? So we got conflicting traits. You need cattle that perform, that still grade, but can still run on a low maintenance system.
Right. We want, most of our customers want Cavanese. So we don't use anything with a huge birth weight. We want a good cow that'll work out here. We don't have a lot of feed resources, we select for kind of smaller mature height or more moderate. If a cow just keeps growing all her life, she just grows tall and gets really skinny out here, Mm-hmm. We never thought marbling was a trait that hurt the cow,
Sure.
I think that's a big misconception in the industry. Everybody says carcass cattle won't grade or not easy fleshing. Carcass cattle are not easy fleshing. Right. And then I think that, they're confused by that. Everybody wants to talk carcass. I think the big thing is they don't know the difference between yield grade and quality grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good place to start. If you're going to try and go down this path, you should try and work on.
Right. And straight. I think people consider carcass maybe yield grade, and that will make a yield grade 1s and 2s do make a tall, skinny, ugly cow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But marbling, I feel,
Have they done much in terms of correlation between maternal strengths and quality grade? Because marbling, right, it happens intramuscular fat comes with maturity.
Yeah. Yes, the marbling curve. And it's not
unless you have genetics. I think you can do it quicker.
Yeah, right. So, but an early maturing cow will come into heat sooner, reach puberty quicker. She should become a functional cow quicker.
Yeah. I guess if she's early maturing, she should probably have a quicker to establish marbling curve.
Yeah.
Although I don't know that I can't say that. Yeah, but it makes sense. That correlation seems to make sense.
Right. But I don't know. We feel like we have high marbling, easy fleshing cows that do well in our environment.
Yep.
I think we screw that up a lot. We talk about marbling too much, and we don't talk about all the other things that we like in a cow either,
Right.
Yeah. That's just one piece of the puzzle. And why the focus on marbling is that's the one thing that we can see that has a premium in the industry.
Sure.
It doesn't cost you any more to run that cow. It doesn't cost you any more to feed that cow. And in the end, she's producing a higher quality calf that is worth, times $30 a hundredweight premium for a prime.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a big deal.
So how do you capture that?
Well, we started out wanting to retain ownership, and then we kind of got into the bull deal and don't have a lot of steers to retain ownership on anymore. So what we mostly retain ownership on, we'll AI 2 cycles of heifers, kick bulls in and sell all the bull breds. That's with the cows too. We keep everything AI and sell anything that's bull bred. And then like the opens, when we preg those heifers, we'll kind of try to do that the middle of August. They're pregged open. We'll ship them to Kansas to a feedlot. And then the goal is to have them done kind of that last week, end of December. That's kind of when the choice select spread is predictably the highest. Mm-hmm. People are buying into Christmas, and it's on a 4-week rolling average. So that's kind of a predictable time for the choice select spread to be high. And that's kind of what we target with those. We'll also, take the bottom end of the bulls and ban those and feed them, and stuff that doesn't test, or whatever. Yep. Bad attitude bulls, stuff people don't want, we'll ban those and feed those and kill everything on a grid.
Yep. So we just talked about a lot of duties, like broad spectrum duties that take different skill sets. And that's not just you there at the ranch, right?
Right. So the operation consists of my dad and my uncle. They're the original Blair Brothers. And then me and my cousin Chad. And we were all kind of at this place, and we've had some ranches in between. And then when we bought that place north of Vail, Chad and his wife moved up there. And those two and their 2 kids pretty well run the whole thing. Down at home, we have a kind of feedlot or background and lot. We also have one right next to Vail. And then, so Ed and I are here. My dad has a commodities office, and he'll kind of come out in most of the afternoons. We also employ 2 people, kind of a full-time guy and kind of a part-time guy. And then got a summer intern this summer. But we'll also, got to buying a lot of customer calves, so we'll buy a lot of customer steers. Ship some straight to the feed yard. We'll background some for 60 days, take them to the feed yard in Kansas, and we're also feeding in Nebraska. And we'll also background some all summer and run yearlings. Oh, we got some leased just into Montana by Alzada, and we also have a lease east of Newell. And we'll also buy about 1,000 customer heifers a year and breed those, and have built a pretty good bred heifer market for those things.
It's a lot of moving parts. Like I said, the cow herd is the base, and there's a whole bunch of value added things that are stemming off that. Tell us about also your bride. Your wife has a PhD in meat science, works for SDSU, so she's the one that kind of makes sure everybody knows the difference between yield and quality grade.
Oh yeah, we knew it without her, but she's better at teaching other people what it is.
Sure you did.
Yeah.
No. Okay, tell us about yearling programs and what we know. Take our combination of what we have learned and what you've learned, if you don't mind sharing, about how to take ruminants and put them on top of roots in a yearling program from a marketing flexibility standpoint and from a quality grade standpoint. Your yearling program on purchased cattle and that kind of stuff. What do those cattle perform like, and what's that do for them? That time, extra time on grass.
Yeah, we really started into that when the last time corn was $7. And the theory being was we were just trying to get into the new crop of corn. And we didn't realize really how good it worked. Most yearling deals would, pretty well price buy calves and put them together and, put themselves in the commodity deal and just putting pounds of gain on for cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take some of those calves. We've taken some 580-pound calves and backgrounded them through the winter and kicked them out weighing 860, and you think that's crazy, and it's not really the norm, And we've kicked cattle out that look way too fleshy to go to grass, but the theory is you just got to get eating less corn and get into that December market and fill some holes. But it works really awesome. And those cattle come off grass 960 or 1,000. I think that's all the nutrition that's in that grass is to get them to 960 or 980, to be honest with you. But we ship them to Kansas, and when they get to Kansas, they'll usually gain in the 5s and convert in the 5s.
Gain in the 5 pounds per day and convert 5 pounds to 1 pound of gain. 5 pounds of feed, 1 pound of gain, right?
Correct.
Those are, if you're not familiar with industry averages, they're a lot different than that. The average feed conversion is a lot closer to 7 and 7.5 probably, and average gains are in the 3s, not the 5s, right?
Well, sure, as a yearling, probably
for a calf,
4 pounds and 6 pounds feed to gain, I suppose, would be pretty good, and we're doing 5. We've had a few sets of cattle that the gain number was bigger than the conversion number.
Mm-hmm.
Like a chicken.
Like a chicken, not quite.
A fish.
But, and then the problem is you have to manage your heavyweight carcasses at the end. But
just make bigger plants. Just make
right.
taller doors.
It's their fault.
They get big. They get really big.
That's right.
1,500, 1,600 pounds.
No, there's this value in it's. I think that's one of we have a couple conversations like this about the value that you change an animal for the better. You literally start with a different substrate when you have a 1,000-pound, 900-pound calf on grass than you do with a 900-pound calf fed that just moves from feed yard to feed yard. It is an absolute different beast, right?
Yep. But I mean, these are, and I pretty well do the check-in on them, and we really have no problems. I mean, we're getting big loads of calves off well-managed ranches.
Mm-hmm.
Our customers are kind of really good really good managers, and we'll get, so I have very few problems out on pasture. But
good.
But yeah, just using known genetics and capturing the value at the end,
Hey, have you ever ran any of those calves East River?
We're doing a few this year.
Well, okay. Have you previous to this year?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious. I mean, so in western South Dakota and up, even further west into Montana, I mean, you've got good, hard native grasses. I mean, a lot of grama grasses, buffalo grass, side oats. And you're going to come East River, and you're going to have some roam and little bluegrass pastures.
Oh, you're talking grass and cattle there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, the pasture rent's too high.
Well, you can run more.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. It's still too high.
Well, it's just better over here. Remember the first time when you came East River to go to college, and you're like, this place is amazing. I'm never going to leave. I love East River. Remember that?
Well, the grass might look better, but I don't think it packs the punch that it does out here.
I don't think that's not what you said. You were just like every other guy at SDSU, gal from SDSU from West River that was like, this place is terrible. The humidity is oppressive. And
well, it's flat and it's humid, and boy, there's kind of wintry over there too.
That's true. That's true. You gotta be tough to live East River.
You gotta be pretty tough. We might have the scenery, but those guys back there know how to make money, I think.
So when I touched base with you last week, you said that tomorrow was a pretty big day at the ranch because you were going to maybe install some vents collars, or are they not vents? Can I say vents?
Yep.
Okay. This is not an endorsement of vents because I don't know enough to endorse vents, but we're going to say, vents.
Well, we're trying virtual fencing. That's the new thing. Yep.
And the vents, does vents have like an exclamation point after it? Is like vents, or is it just regular?
And it's a sound exclamation point.
I'm not sure. I think it's just regular.
I think they should put remember when Jeb Bush was running for president in the primary, and his whole campaign was Jeb with an exclamation point?
Yeah, it was.
Like Jeb. Like somehow that made him like alive instead of just being a slightly comatose person.
That does make more sense. Yeah.
It's like not how most people would describe the guy with an exclamation point. But I think it would work with vents. So tell us about.
It's very shocking, like that, though. Like the exclamation point.
That's right. and the shocking pun will make more sense later when Britton tells us what that does.
Yeah, that ranch north of Vail is pretty good size, and the pastures were pretty big. We have cross fenced some of them. I think that also makes the place good, though, is having a lot of country, and those cows do really well up there. They're fat on nothing, and the calves are huge, and it is a good place. But we're kind of land managers, down at the home ranch. We run a pretty management intensive grazing system where this time of year we're moving cattle every 2 to 3 days, kind of May and June, trying to clip it off. Similar to mowing your lawn, it feels like we get a month of free grazing that way, and we really almost doubled the stocking rate on this ranch. Small pastures moving a lot, and when it's early in the grazing season, we kind of clip it off and it grows right back and rest it. But up there's different, bigger pastures, bigger groups of cows, and some more terrain. So that's where this virtual fencing came in. Kind of allows us to maybe do some more rotation and some of that without as much labor, as much moving. So basically what fence is you have a collar on the cow, similar to like a dog fence,
Mm-hmm.
So tone is audible when they get to the line, and then if they don't change from the audible, it shocks them with the collar. You can set it up on your computer. You can set up to move a planned move or whatever. Some of that stuff I wanted to try, just holding the cattle closer in the pasture to the pens when we're AIing and things like that. One of the coolest things is you can actually lock stuff out, which I think is maybe more important than, moving them.
What do you mean?
Well, we have one of the most active sage-grouse leks in South Dakota. The Lec is their dancing grounds in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
drums, right?
Yep.
Can you hear that on the microphone?
I can hear that.
No,
yeah.
is it that rapid or not?
I don't know. I'm always calving, and I never have made it up there to watch them dance.
Oh,
how terrible is that? Like, it's my dream, and I never go do it.
You got to make the time to watch the dance.
When we went antelope hunting last fall.
Yeah.
They were dancing. And then it was
Really?
like dark, and all of a sudden we heard this thumping. Like, what is that?
Oh, in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
Sage-grouse thumping.
I've watched the parade, the sharp tails dance a lot, and that's fun.
So your leks, and that's like kind of okay. What is a lek? Like, visually describe what a lek looks like.
Well, it just looks like a piece of prairie, but that's where they do their dancing at.
So, like, how do you recognize? Like, is there any, like, does the ground get wore down? Like, is there
the ground gets wore down. There's lots of poop around there.
Okay. Is that where they mate
That's where they mate.
and dance?
Which, in all honesty, we stay out of that pasture at that time of year anyway.
Okay.
Like, that's something that we're pretty aware of and aren't going to go in there till later in the season anyway. But this events thing is just really cool in that aspect that you could just lock that out, or say you had a bad dam or something, you could just take that area virtually, draw a fence around it, and keep the cows out of it.
It is pretty darn cool.
Instead of spending 2 days building fence, it would just 5 minutes on my computer and be done.
So, okay. And then that's controlled. Is that phones, satellites, repeaters, or what kind of mechanism communicates with those collars?
Yeah, there's towers that we put up. We had to have 3 towers to cover the ranch, and runs off cell phone, and then the collars are GPS.
Okay. And you collar the
Bouncing off
cows.
those towers.
Collar the cows, but you don't collar the calves, right?
Yep.
And the calves just kind of generally stick with the cow, and there's still perimeter fences.
Right. I don't think you can have a cornfield with gravel roads around it without a fence. I don't think it's quite that.
You don't want to do that yet.
But yeah, just think of maybe the calves could graze the fresh grass outside of the line. There's no harm in that, right?
Forage-based creep feeding.
Forage-based creep feeding.
There you go.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
Or just a feeder, not a creep feeder.
Right, it's true.
Just let the calves go eat out of the feeder.
Oh, yeah.
That's
true.
what, you have
You could actually
a panel in front of the creep feeder to not let the cows in.
you can do real creep feed. If you want
Ooh, wow. I don't. Yeah. We don't creep feed.
Why? Well, did you say you can't have it? You could have corn stalks with a gravel road around it, though, and have your cows collared and not have to put up a hot wire fence, right?
No, I think you still need to.
Really?
Yeah.
It's got to get to that point.
It's not that perfected yet.
It needs to get there.
Yeah,
Because that's where
it needs to get there.
Think of the time saving.
Well, wouldn't it be cool if you could just send them home? Like go to the corn stalks and it just beeps them all the way there.
And just put an electric fence along the road. So they can just walk within the electric fence all the way to your home place.
A great way to graze down the ditches.
Oh, there you go.
You think you could get it to where you could make the cows organize into an eat beef thing and then take an aerial drone footage like they do with the bale processors? You know what I mean? You think you could do that with fence? Is it?
Let me get them on and then we'll work on it.
Okay.
I wonder if Vince knows of all the possibilities they have.
I'll introduce Jared. He'll tell them all about it.
Oh, I did. I met the guy out at your tour, didn't I?
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
tall guy from San Francisco.
Yep.
I met him. We didn't talk very long, but I didn't get into any of this stuff. Oh boy! So
You'll have to send him some ideas.
How many cows are you going to events tomorrow? Or collar or whatever you call it.
320.
Okay.
We're starting with half.
What does a Vince collar cost?
You actually rent them for the year,
Curveball.
which I think is good because as they increase technology, you're not stuck with a bunch of old collars.
I'm sure though, 5 years from now, the Vents collars you have today are going to be nobody wants them.
Well, you'd think. I think that's a great plan.
That's true. It's just like the iPhone plan. You don't even own your phone anymore.
You don't?
Well, I should say that.
They try to make you rent it. They try to make you rent it. It's a scam.
I got to get a phone next week. I didn't know that. That's going to be a thing?
You own it, but you're paid for it each month, which is more like renting it.
Yeah, people complain about a lot of stuff, but why is nobody talking about this subscription-based society we're into now?
Oh, I know.
How much money could you lose paying subscriptions every year for everything that you want to get?
How much money can you lose paying subscriptions on things that you forgot you subscribed to?
Exactly. It's a scam.
Lot.
It's a huge scam.
It's a lot. And they're always like just enough where like, it's just not worth calling. Like, I don't remember my password. Like, it's $14. I'll get it next month. And then it's 7 years later, you're still subscribed to some whatever thing. You know what I mean?
Lucky
Like,
for us, we don't have good enough internet to get all the movie subscriptions yet, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You should start doing with bulls. Well, they do have bull leasing programs. But just do it. Hey, you know what? You take this bull. We'll send you an invoice every month for $400.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just keeps going.
Just
wait, the
$400 a month.
You don't have that bull anymore?
$400 a month.
Oh, you should have called. I didn't know you didn't have it.
Yeah, he's here. We've been feeding him for you. Yeah, you haven't wanted to use him, so he's alive. Okay, so you subscribe to Vents.
Yep.
I hope there's like a Vents newsletter that comes out.
I'm not talking magazine. Their subscription's bad like everything else. I was just kind of going off on a tangent about the world. But no, I think that lease, that thing is perfect. Like I said, you're not stuck with a bunch of old technology in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One of the things that we had pre-thought about before this podcast was talking about the challenges that you have to cover the large acres you need to. This is innovative to do that. You talked about not having to fence as many areas and that. What else? I mean, yeah, you've got more people to do it. You got some hired labor to do it. But on this side of the state and in the eastern part of the country, I mean, there's a lot smaller areas to cover. So what other challenges do you have to get over that amount of acres?
Oh, I don't know. It's not that bad. Time takes a lot of time. Right now we're in the thick of AI and we probably don't get up there as much as we should, but any free day you're going to check yearlings, when we're either AI or checking yearlings, seems like.
So do you think that if you had the cows used to the Vents collars, I can't get over the Vents, and you're heat detecting, and one comes into heat, she stands. Do you think you could sort her off based on reprogramming her little, kind of vocal recognition?
Well, I'm hoping. I think we're going to have to do some.
That'd be cool.
That's what I was hoping we could do, because we spend a lot of time heat detecting second cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if somehow we could watch and we're writing all down the numbers and paying attention to what they're doing, basically writing down the numbers when they're in heat. If you could go back and track that collar the 2 days before she's in heat or whatever, and somehow could you write a program or something that would tell that how they're moving is how they're in heat?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it'd be easy. I mean, especially in the range, you can do it with a pedometer in dairy. I mean, just those little ankle bracelet things that dairy cows wear. You can, the amount of steps per day, triple during estrus. I mean, it's night and day.
Oh yeah, and then they'll all be in a little group,
Oh.
Well, I think there's a lot. I think the possibilities are endless.
Plus, the collar is actually have a vertical, just the motion in the collar would be a red flag if she's riding.
Right.
Sounds like a great plan. Yeah, if you could double that up with a modern day heat watch with virtual fencing rotational capabilities, that's pretty cool functionality.
Yeah.
Does Vents
if we
know
could just
all that?
run her in.
Do the Vents people, are they thinking this big?
I don't know. I think they are.
Good.
We've talked.
Good.
I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about it. I don't know.
Well, maybe we're not. I don't know. That's what I said. I can't endorse Vents. It sounds like I am, but I love the capabilities. I'm excited about what's coming up next. I'm excited to not fence so much too.
Oh, yes.
And I kind of enjoy fencing, but have you seen the price of barbed wire?
Price of everything.
Oh.
How about a railroad tie?
What? How much they cost?
A 2x4 is $8 now. Oh. Railroad tie is probably 30.
Yeah.
They were 25, I think, last fall.
Posts have gone up.
Well, see, we buy materials as they're cheap, and then you have some to use whenever you need them.
Oh, I have an idea. We could have a railroad tie subscription business. We could rent one.
Where you could, there you go.
Rent them by the tie.
It's only 35 cents a day.
Right, yeah.
Sounds like a heck of a deal.
Right.
For pennies a day.
Let's talk about sage-grouse a little bit. The fact that you had sage-grouse on your property, some people would say, okay, hey, this is a species of concern, right? So we have biologists, we have conservation groups that are taking note of our property now, right? Because we have them. And some people say, well, I don't know if I'd like that attention. I don't know if I'd like lots of other groups interested in what I'm doing with my land. But you guys had a different approach. Tell us about some of the opportunities that came up and about because of the sage-grouse, Lex.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people say that, and I don't know. We've always kind of been land managers, or always been pretty into grazing and increasing stocking rate and increasing range condition. And we didn't really think of it that way, I guess. They were just there. We're excited about sage-grouse, that place in Montana had them, and every time we'd see them, we'd be pretty excited. And everybody on the operation, somebody sees one, everybody's talking about it, and where we saw it and all that. And and with the deal with that ranch is it puts you at the top of the equip list right away. So, we closed on that ranch in November, and by January, I think we were digging a well. It was pretty underwatered. We dug a 4,000 feet deep well.
Ooh.
And I think we put 25 miles of pipeline on it the first year. It was, it's a pretty tough country out here. The water is a big deal, and, you can't rely on dams as much. And so, thought it was really important to put pipeline on, and the sage-grouse kind of helped you get funding for that because they realized the grazing is good for the sage-grouse and managed grazing, and the water helps keep it away from the sage-grouse habitat and helps sage-grouse.
Well, the wildlife needs water too. So if the cattle don't have water, there's not water for anything else. So it's pretty tough to survive. That view on the top of the two top there, looking to the north, that is as unadulterated, pristine view of the Northern Plains prairie as I have ever seen. It's a really neat view.
There's not a high line pole. There's not a road. There's nothing.
A roof. Not a house. Nothing.
We had a gal from Kansas. Yep, she'd never seen anything like that, where there wasn't a road or a power line or anything.
And you can probably see 40 miles, can't you? 30? I don't know.
Yep, from that hill, I think you can see on the right day. You can see South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana for sure.
Oh, there you go. That's a ways. Yeah, it's really neat. So literally the only three things you can see up there is a little bit of fence, which once we get vents perfected, like 2-3 months from now, we won't even need that, right? A little bit of fence, some stone Johnnies, which is early settlers, kind of landmarks.
Stacked up rocks. There's several of those. They're really cool.
And teepee rings. Just
and a couple of cell phone towers.
Ah, dang it. Really?
If to the back. If you look north, you're fine.
We're not going to get vents to work if we don't have a tower.
I think it has probably the best view of the Black Hills also.
Oh, I never looked the other way. Never thought about it. Huh.
Yeah.
I'll have to come back.
It's a very interesting piece of country.
Hey, were there any regulations with the teepee rings as far as grazing management goes, or?
No. With the equip, they walk everything you're putting in and
make sure you're not digging up a bunch of.
They have an archaeologist come out and make sure you're not digging through them. But I don't know. As a family, I think we'd pretty well want to preserve those ourselves. You know what I mean? Or
yeah,
the government. It's good that they tell us that, but we would also take it upon ourselves to not disturb that. I mean, those things have been there for how many hundreds of years, and
right.
Why do I need to go tear them up?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just didn't know if that hindered any of the grazing.
It would. I mean, they have an archaeologist walk all of the lines, fencing or pipeline, and make sure you're not disturbing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of neat old houses, or not houses, but you can see the rock foundations of where the old houses were.
Yeah, that'd be a tough place to homestead, you know.
There was a ton of homesteads around there, and now, there's one.
Yeah, they didn't have a 4,000-foot well.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. That will change your plans in a hurry if that's where you have to live.
It's not good for farming.
No, but that's all right. So that entire place is all pretty much native, isn't it? I mean, there's
Yep.
probably some
There
stuff
was
that's
an
moved in.
80-acre hayfield, and we don't go up there and hay it. How about that? Otherwise, I think it's all native range.
Yeah. So your cows are grazing from what, April till November?
Oh, yeah. May 15th is kind of the turnout date around here. May 10th, maybe.
Okay. And then
So we'll pretty well feed them there, and that ranch up there is big enough. Chad can kind of stockpile some winter grass in a couple pastures, winter forage, and I think he got along probably till the 1st of February this year.
Wow.
His goal's kind of 1st of January, but he's made it past there most years we've been up there, I think.
And then
Just grazing.
Feeding some hay, buying some that you put up, some that you bought, and then doing some corn stalk grazing, some cover crop grazing even on the irrigation project. Is that right?
Yep, we can rent some corn stalks just 5 miles north of us, and we'll just trail cows up there and graze and trail them back. Kind of same thing, kind of 1st of January, we'll pull them off of there. My cover crop, Ed and I have what I call a hobby farm. It's basically, we have some old alfalfa fields that need replanted, right? So we're just, we're hobby farming. We wanted no-till farm, so we're trying it. 150, I think I have 130 acres this year. I've planted rye, triticale, oats. We're kind of double cropping the rye and triticale. I really like the fall planted crops because we always get some moisture in April, it seems like, and we could chop that, and then we'd go back in with cover crops on that.
That's good.
We're probably terrible cover crop managers.
Oh.
And we don't have a very good environment. It forgets to rain out here in August sometimes.
Wow. I think we're in a bigger drought than you are, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right now,
But I mean, the cover crops, they'd come and we probably didn't graze them at the correct time. But because we just had that corn stalk stuff leased, and we'd go up there, and that one year I came back in January, and I bet 350 cows camped on there for a month, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty good.
They had access to hay fields around that cover crop field, but I mean, they grazed that thing for a month.
Okay.
So when they were on the cover crop field, and they also on some hay field, which would have been probably predominantly western wheatgrass, or would have been crested, or what was alfalfa? What was the adjacent hay fields that they would have had access to?
Some intermediate, some crested, alfalfa.
Okay.
There's a little brome on the creek and stuff, but yeah.
So when they're out there in the cover crop, it's January, right? It's all frozen. The stuff's half stinky almost, right? Because you get those winter warm-ups where it actually gets warm enough for those turnips to start rotting a little bit. They're out there with eating and laying in the cover crop. Were they eating the cover crop and laying in the hayfield?
I don't know. I don't pay that much attention.
Well, we gotta watch.
Why? Why do you ask that?
I don't know. I'm
It's not
curious about
it probably didn't get tall enough for them to really lay on it. But.
You're right. I'm thinking about the dispersion of nutrients, the nutrient transfer, and where they're at in both times.
And we'd have fed a little hay on there too, but I mean, supplemental grazing with cover crops. Last year I was really impressed that July 28th it rained, so I got excited and planted cover crops because it always rains during the rally. It didn't rain again until August 28th, and that stuff sat there and didn't dry up, and it rained August 28th, and I think you could watch that stuff grow the next day. And then September 8th it froze.
Oh yeah, better shut her off then again. Looking so good. Froze.
But it came up with the first rain, and it sat there, and when it rained again, it just took off, and then 8 days later it froze. But
so what do you got in that field this year?
Oh, I planted corn. That's a terrible.
Everybody's planting corn now. We're gonna have $2
Well,
corn
but
again.
yeah, I was going to do it before that. I basically for weed control and wanted to try planting some no-till dryland corn.
Sure.
How's it look?
What's that?
What's the crop? What's the Meade County dryland corn crop report look like?
It's up.
It's up. Okay. Well, good luck with that.
We're like I said, it's my hobby farm. We're just kind of farming whatever we feel like.
Yep.
There you go.
But I did, planted rye and then some oats and some cover crops in one, and now we're back to alfalfa again and did another 130 acres this year, or last year.
Well, I think some of those old hay stands, it's about time to get them freshened up, isn't it? I mean, I think I see a lot of people.
It was probably time 10 years ago. Who knows?
Well, I see a lot of people take really old stands of hay fields and they're taking stuff off, right? They're baling hay off it every single year, and they're like, it just doesn't do much, And I was like, I think they're really, really devoid of nutrients in there.
Yeah. They get so almost sod bound though too, and that soil becomes so stagnant. Year after year, it's the same thing, and your removal rate is it's through the roof as far as nutrients go, and nothing goes.
Yeah, and we can haul it. We haul a lot of manure onto it.
Oh, that's good.
It was kind of funny though. The one year it rained, 2019, it must have rained a lot. We, had cover. We must have had rye, and then we planted cover crops, and then next year we went back in with oats, and there was only about 2 days there where you could get in the field, and heck, the neighbor was even wondering when we had that time to plant that, but I think it was the cover crops allowed us to get in the field way faster.
Sure.
When nobody else around us could,
Well, we got just a couple minutes here, or we're going to start wrapping it up. Any closing comments or parting wisdom that you have in mind, Britton? We got some notes.
We never heard one quote that
Not
you mentioned.
one quote.
We never heard. I don't know. You got to have those quotes kind of just ready in the moment.
I know.
I think the one James really liked that I told him was, those yearlings have 8 hours to eat and 8 hours of sleep and 8 hours to get in trouble. So that yearling running is kind of a job. But
that's good. But I think you get some vents on them. That's going to cure that.
You think so?
Yeah, you can just watch them from you just like get a drone above them, satellite imagery. You see them start acting up, just sap them. Just
Enough of that.
Nope.
That's the other. We need to get kind of the drone thing perfected. I think could save a lot of time traveling those long distances. Justin.
There you go. Yep.
We spend a lot of time driving. Spend a lot of time riding 4-wheelers, and
They should have a carbon offset program for all ranchers to buy a drone, so you don't have to start your pickup to go check.
oh, that'd be a pretty good idea.
Why don't they have that?
I don't know.
Jared can work on that.
I'll report back
All right.
soon.
I don't know if we covered much. We got so much to cover. I don't know if we touched on anything.
Oh, we sure did.
We touched on everything.
We did. We got through a lot of it. No, I want to remind everybody, Blair Brothers Angus, providing sources of 1 to 50 bulls or however many a person needs, from 1 to a pot load. We want to shout that out.
Yeah.
I think at this point it's fair we can endorse Blair
All right.
Brothers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And thank
We
him.
got
for being
bred
with us.
heifers for sale this fall.
Yep.
There we go. Hey, how about a shout out to we never talked about your family either, huh?
No, we didn't.
You got to give a shout out to your kids.
Jack and Colt.
There they go.
Jack and
They'll be
Colt.
pumped to hear it. Right?
There it is.
Jack's been working hard putting in cedars.
I don't know if
He's
they're going to be
gonna-
patient enough to listen 51 minutes into the podcast before their names are mentioned, though.
Let's play the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was riding his horse today gathering stuff, so he's pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. All right, Britton. Well, certainly appreciate the time you've taken.
Hey,
This
no
is
problem.
a lot of good stuff, and certainly circle the wagons back around at the end of the season to hear more about how this grazing season went for you. But to our listeners as well, we certainly appreciate you listening to episode 5, and stay tuned as we continue on more with Roots and Ruminants podcast. So thanks for listening.